Jamaica. Last week, we examined Edward Seaga, the uncompromising institutionalist of the Jamaica Labour Party, who spent the 1980s attempting to restructure Jamaica's economy. By the dawn of the 1990s, the political pendulum swung back to the People's National Party. Michael Manley, the charismatic titan whose magnetic voice had defined an era, was back in office. But the geopolitical landscape had changed, and most critically, Michael Manley's health was rapidly failing him. By March 1992, after years of severe physical strain, Manley officially stepped down, exposing a massive vacuum at the head of Jamaica's power regime. When the PNP convened to choose his successor, the contest turned into a historic clash of styles. Portia Simpson, the fiery populist Labour minister with deep roots in the working class, challenged the party hierarchy. She brought passion, grassroots charisma, and raw emotional appeal. But standing against her was the cool, calculating party strategist, Percival Noel James Patterson.
Out of many nations, one world. To achieve sustainable development and fulfill the promise of a better life for our people, we must create the conditions for economic growth and development for all our countries.
Welcome back to part 5 of our 9-part series, In the Shadow of the Chief. Here we explore the lives of Jamaica's 9 prime ministers, looking at their achievement, triumphs, and their flaws. Patterson won the 1992 delegates' vote convincingly, yet revealing a lifelong philosophy, he never carried political grudges. To understand, however, the 14-year era that followed, you must analyze the racial, visual, and psychological dynamic of 1990s Jamaican politics. Edward Seaga was a light-skinned Jamaican of Syrian-Lebanese descent. Though Seaga had spent his early academic career documenting rural Afro-Jamaican culture, the PNP political machine weaponized his background, framing him as cold, distant, and autocratic. When Patterson took the helm, the narrative shifted entirely. A black man from rural Hanover, Patterson was marketed to the electorate as the Fresh Prince. In a nation where over 90% of the population was black, the visual dynamic on the campaign trail was lethal. Worse for the JLP, Seaga's own party was collapsing from within. By 1990, reform groups like the Western 13 openly rebelled against Seaga's autocratic style. Voters were exhausted by Seaga's stern demeanor, or so they say. The reality of 1990s politics was brutal. As long as Edward Seaga remained at the helm of the JLP, any disciplined PNP machine was positioned to win. Patterson masterfully navigated that voter fatigue. Patterson was born on April 10, 1935 in Hanover. His father, Henry Patterson, was a farmer, and his mother, Ina James, was a primary school teacher. Raised in modest rural surroundings, Patterson grew up where quiet discipline and academic focus were paramount. His intellectual precision earned him a Purcell Trust Scholarship to Calabar High School in Kingston. At Calabar, Patterson stood out through analytical discipline. In the mid-1950s, he entered the University College of the West Indies, UCII, at Mona, then the intellectual epicenter of West Indian regionalism. Serving as president of the UII political club, Patterson engaged with the premier anti-colonial minds of the era. Earning an honors BA in English in 1958, from Mona, Patterson set sail for London to read law at the London School of Economics. His academic performance was stellar. He was awarded the Leverloom Scholarship and the Sir Hughes Parry Prize for excellence in the law of contracts. Called to the bar at Middle Temple in 1963, Patterson returned home armed with an extraordinary legal mind, built for intricate statutory drafting, trade negotiations, and structural strategy. Patterson joined the PNP, organizing apparatus as early as 1958. By 1969, at just 33 years old, he was appointed an opposition senator and elected vice president of the PNP. When Michael Manley ran for the PNP presidency in 1969, he chose Patterson as his campaign director. It was the start of an unmatched partnership. Manley was the charismatic orator. Patterson was the intellectual engine room, making sure the state machinery worked. Following the PNP's 1972 election victory, Patterson advanced through key cabinet portfolios: Minister of Industry and Trade and Tourism, 1972 to 1977, managing commercial policy and global tourism, positioning during the severe international oil shocks of the 1970s, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, 1978 to 1980, emerging as a major diplomatic strategist for the Global South and serving as a chief architect of the historic Lomé Convention between ACP states and the European Economic Community. As Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Development, Planning and Production in 1989 to 1990, he coordinated the national economic strategy. Upon the PNP's return to office, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Planning, 1990 to 1991, handling the most complex portfolio in government, overseeing currency deregulation, state divestment, and structural adjustment. However, in late 1991, Patterson encountered the biggest crisis of his political career: the Shell waiver scandal. The government oil refinery, Petrojam, was the primary supplier of unleaded fuel, and heavy import duties were imposed on private petroleum dealers. Yet, a massive tax duty waiver was granted to Shell Company to import the fuel duty-free. The controversy caused a public outcry and internal political firestorm. To give Prime Minister Michael Manley space to reshuffle his cabinet, the entire cabinet resigned in December 1991. When the new cabinet was announced in January 1992, PJ Patterson was left off the front bench. Critics declared Patterson's political career dead. But at a packed press conference at PNP headquarters, Patterson channeled General Douglas MacArthur and issued a famous declaration to the nation. He said, quote, "I shall return," end of quote. His return took less than 3 months. When Michael Manley announced his retirement due to failing health in March 1992, Patterson launched a campaign for the party presidency. He defeated Portia Simpson and stepped into Jamaica House as Prime Minister. Though Patterson was now Prime Minister, he was governing under Michael Manley's 1989 election mandate. Patterson was determined to step out of Manley's shadow and prove he could win in his own right. In early 1993, he called an election, a general election that is, to secure his own personal mandate from the Jamaican people. Edward Seaga and the JLP leadership severely miscalculated. Seaga believed he had Patterson trapped. The opposition viewed Patterson as a political lightweight, a dry, technocratic lawyer who lacked Manley's flair and would crumble under the heat of a national campaign. Seaga assumed the Jamaican public would reject Patterson's understated style. They could not be more wrong. Patterson ran a masterclass campaign, weaponizing Seaga's voter fatigue, organizing the PNP grassroots, and projecting his image as the fresh prince. The result was an absolute rout. Patterson led the PNP to a crushing 58-2 seat landslide, shattering Seaga's expectations and establishing Patterson as an untouchable political force. With his mandate secured, Patterson adopted a hands-off managerial style of executive governance, delegating broad autonomy to his ministers. This style faced intense public scrutiny during the NetServe scandal of 2001-2002. Philip Paulwell, the then Minister of Industry, Commerce and Technology, fast-tracked tens of millions of dollars in government loans to an IT startup that collapsed shortly after, costing taxpayers roughly 180 million Jamaican dollars. When the public demanded Paulwell's dismissal, Patterson defended his young minister in Parliament, famously brushing off the blunder as mere youthful experience. It was a phrase used specifically for Paulwell's oversight lapse, but it came to define Patterson's protective approach toward his cabinet. Following his 1993 victory once more, Patterson's administration accelerated financial liberalization, lifting foreign exchange controls to build indigenous black wealth. But rapid deregulation without proper oversight created systemic volatility. To curb spiraling inflation and defend the Jamaican dollar, Finance Minister Dr. Omar Davies unleashed a high interest rate policy, driving commercial interest rates above 40 to 50% and even at times 70%. The consequences were catastrophic for local business owners. Entrepreneurs, farmers, and real estate developers who had taken out commercial loans saw their interest payments double and triple in some cases overnight. Non-performing loans exploded across every commercial bank. By 1996, the entire local financial sector faced insolvency. The answer? The government created FINSAC, Financial Institution Services Adjustment Company, to bail out the financial system and protect ordinary bank depositors. While FINSAC saved consumer deposits, its recovery measures devastated the local business class. FINSAC seized farms, hotels, commercial properties, and homes from delinquent borrowers. In 2002, those non-performing loans were sold at a discount to the foreign-backed Jamaica Redevelopment Foundation, JRF, which aggressively liquidated local assets. Thousands of middle-class Jamaicans lost their life savings, homes, and businesses. Furthermore, the bailout flooded the national balance sheet with debt causing Jamaica's debt to GDP ratio to surge past 140% and forcing the country to spend over half its national budget servicing debt for 2 decades. Simultaneously, Patterson worked to reshape Jamaica's cultural identity. In 2002, his government opened Emancipation Park in New Kingston, installing Laura Face's Redemption Song Monument, an 11-foot bronze sculpture of a nude black man and woman gazing upward. Despite national controversy over its public nudity, Patterson stood firmly behind the monument. Despite the pain of FINSAC, Patterson remained undefeated at the polls, defeating Edward Seaga in 3 consecutive general elections, 1993, 1997, and 2002. His critics condemned the financial destruction of the middle class, stagnant GDP growth, and rising crime rates. His supporters pointed to a physical transformation of the island. Highway 2000, the modern multi-lane toll highway network connecting Kingston to the rest of the island. Telecommunications deregulation, ending the cable and wireless monopoly, and expanding mobile phones to every corner of Jamaica. Infrastructure upgrades, modernizing Norman, Manley, and Sangster international airports and expanding container port terminals. Electoral reform, institutionalizing peaceful, transparent elections. In March 2006, Percival Noel James Patterson retired, undefeated after 14 unbroken years as Prime Minister, the longest continuous tenure in Jamaica's history. The rivalry between Patterson and Seaga ended where all history eventually converges. On May 28, 2019, on his 89th birthday, Edward Seaga passed away in Miami. PJ Patterson joined the nation in paying tribute to his longtime adversary, honoring Seaga's monumental role in building modern Jamaican state institutions. 14 years after her initial challenge in 1992, Patterson had kept his cabinet and she was ready to move forward once more. Next week on In the Shadow of the Chief, as one political era closes, a populist titan rises from the grassroots to shatter Jamaica's ultimate political glass ceiling. She became the nation's first female prime minister. But the historic victory was only the beginning. Almost immediately, she faces internal party divisions, economic turbulence, and a resurgent opposition determined to reclaim power. Don't miss Chapter 6, when we will talk about Mama P, Portia Simpson Miller, and the struggle for command. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring Jamaica's history to life, one story at a time. And remember, out of many, one people under God. See you next time.
Here we come.
One people, one nation.
Standing tall.
Under God.
Strong and free.
Jamaica.
The land we love.